lovely symbol in the chorus. Actually, it only appears twice in the chorus and then twice in the Song of Prayer. This is the phrase, the wands of heaven. And actually, I want to read you in just a moment the four places where that phrase is used. That's a symbol of being in the real world. It's the place that we reach which transcends the world. And as ugly as the world still is, because the world itself doesn't change, it's the beauty inside when we've chosen love instead of hate. It's that beauty that we now extend and we see all around us. Right? And that's the wands of heaven. And right beyond the wands of heaven is the gate of heaven. Right? Let me read you the four places where this appears. The first is right at the end of the text. This is part of Jesus' final vision. Many of you know. It's the way that he ends the text. It's quite moving and beautiful, and I'll just read you just one part of it. Paragraph 9. Let us be glad that we can walk the world and find so many chances to perceive another situation where God's gift can once again be recognized as ours. And thus for all the vestiges of hell, the secret sins and hidden hates be gone, and all the loveliness which they concealed appear like wands of heaven to our sight, to lift us high above the thorny roads we traveled on before the Christ appeared. This is very, very similar to what Shelley's expressing, that the thorny roads would be what the city of desolation is and the city of death is, and he asks us to move beyond them. All right, then if you look at workbook lesson 194, first paragraph, the lesson is, I place the future in the hands of God. This is how it begins. Today's idea takes another step toward quick salvation, and a giant stride it is indeed. So great the distance is that it encompasses. It sets you down just short of heaven, with the goal in sight and obstacles behind. Your foot has reached the wands that welcome you to heaven's gate, the quiet place of peace where you await with certainty the final step of God. How far are we progressing now from earth? How close are we approaching to our goal? How short the journey still to be pursued? Right? This is one of those places you find many of them in the workbook where Jesus is kind of giving us a pep talk and telling us that we've really gone, far along the journey and the end is in sight. You have to remember, of course, that he doesn't believe in time, and so his view of time is quite different from ours. Just because a student is at lesson 194 does not necessarily mean that the wands of heaven are in his or her sight. However, it does give you a sense that this is a journey that we're on, and the ending is quite beautiful and quite wonderful. And that it's because of that it's well worth all the difficulty and the trouble of working through our egos and looking at our special relationships differently, and not being taken in by this horrifying thought system of hate and guilt and murder and death. That there is a thought system beyond that, which is the Holy Spirit's right-minded thought system. And beyond that, or the culmination of that thought system, is this image of the wands of heaven. And beyond that, of course, is heaven itself. Right. The two other places, as I mentioned, are in the Song of Prayer pamphlet. The first was right at the beginning. Lay down your dreams, you holy Son of God, and rising up as God created you, dispense with idols and remember him. Prayer will sustain you now and bless you as you lift your heart to him in rising song that reaches higher and then higher still until both high and low have disappeared. Faith in your goal will grow and hold you up as you ascend the shining stairway to the wands of heaven and the gate of peace. For this is prayer, and here salvation is. This is the way. It is God's gift to you. And the last one comes at the end of the first chapter, in fact, the very end of it. The first chapter is on prayer. And then it's very, very similar to the chapters on forgiveness and healing, which really depict the journey. And the image which is used throughout the Song of Prayer is the ladder. And so this basically is the ladder's end. The ladder ends with this. For learning is no longer needed. And this refers back to the previous paragraph, where we say to our brother, I cannot go without you, for you are a part of me. And that's that beautiful reflection of heaven's oneness when we recognize that we and everyone else in our world are one and the same. And we really are part of a much larger mind which now has been healed. Yeah. Again, the latter ends with this, for learning is no longer needed. Now you stand before the gate of heaven, and your brother stands beside you there. The lawns are deep and still, for here the place appointed for the time when you should come has waited long for you. Here will time end forever. At this gate, eternity itself will join with you. Prayer has become what it was meant to be, for you have recognized the Christ in you. And when you recognize the Christ in you, which of course is what happens when you become an advanced teacher of God, you also recognize that same Christ is in everyone else. And the key idea, of course, which we'll underscore a lot, is the idea that it's in everyone. It cannot be in some people. It cannot be in all except a few. It has to be in all, or else it's in none. So just as we all share the same ego and the same thought system of specialness and hate, we also share the same thought system of the correction. And the ultimate correction is remembering that who we are as God created us. And that's what it means to be a teacher of God, an advanced teacher of God. A few times, Helen had an experience which I remember when she first told me about it. She told it to me as a dream. And I think it happened as a dream, but I think it also happened when she was awake. And she saw herself not really as herself. She was dressed in her priestess kind of white gown. And she was standing before this gate. And she would say to people as they walked through, in the name of Christ, pass through this gate in peace. Right? What was just before the gate would be these lawns of heaven. And she would stand there again in this, what was really her true self as this priestess, who was hardly in this world at all, welcoming people to pass through this gate in peace. And on the other side, of course, is heaven. Right. I think what's important about Shelley's verse is the idea that we don't become that light of laughing flowers until we first pass through the city of desolation, until we first pass through the ego thought system. That one cannot have this experience of love and this experience of seeing and knowing, not just seeing with one's eyes, but seeing and knowing that everyone here is the same, both with the same ego, the same Holy Spirit, and the same power of the mind to choose. That one cannot have that realization, what is more properly called vision. That's how the word vision is used in the Course, or the term true perception. That's the closest we could come in this illusory world to reality. Since reality is perfect oneness, in which there is no differentiation, no individuality, certainly no uniqueness or specialness, totally unknown here. What's referred to one place in the text as a oneness joined as one. That there's no way we can know that here. But we can know the reflection of that oneness joined as one. That each of us is part of the one Son. Not only as Christ in heaven, but in this world as again having the same split mind. That's what vision is. But one cannot have that experience of love and so have an ego. You know, there's that very powerful section in the treachery of specialness in chapter 24, where Jesus talks about it is impossible to hear the Holy Spirit's voice and hear his song, his melody, as long as you listen to the voice of specialness. And indeed, that is the purpose of the voice of specialness, to drown out that voice of love and that voice of oneness. So as long as there is specialness in your mind, then you should be suspect of any experience. Not again that it's not valid or authentic, but the experience itself is not worth very much if it does not help you let go of your ego. That the value of an experience of love and an experience of forgiveness, an experience of a real joining and sharing, is that it becomes like a beacon of light within you to which you bring all your darkened thoughts of specialness and separation and hate and guilt and special interests, etc. I mean, that's the value. Again, you don't get to this place, to these lawns of heaven and the gate of peace if you're not at peace, right? And if you're still romping around in the weeds, you know, trying to believe that they're fragrant flowers, right? When they're really the weeds of death and the weeds of hate. An advanced teacher has come through that and knows that the way to that experience is through the ego. As we're told in one place in the text, the Holy Spirit walks with us through the circle of fear, and God is on the other side.